The Drukmani captain has a familiar voice. Badgie is the cutest little tutor ever, or is he? And you know the holodeck is not just for hanging out with Sherlock Holmes and Robin Hood and Sigmund Freud and Cyrano de Bergerac and Einstein and Hawking and Socrates. And hello, everybody, and welcome to the Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
We are joined by a very special guest all the way out in North Carolina, Mr. Dr. Mohamed Noor.
Hello, thanks for having
me. Yeah.
My name is Ryan T. Husk from the orange land of California right now.
It's burning.
Yeah, everything is orange out here. All of California is orange or red. We are reviewing today Lower Decks Season 1, Episode 6, called Terminal Provocations. How are you guys doing today?
2 thumbs up.
Good. Doing good.
Nice. Also, very quickly, guys, we were checking out our analytics the other day, and we noticed that 63% of our views come from people that aren't even subscribed. Can you imagine that? So if you're watching this video, please hit subscribe so that we can put that number up higher. And to the 37% of you that are subscribed, thanks. Anyway, let's talk about it. What did you guys think? By the way, Mohamed, thank you for joining us and with your Deep Space Nine shirt and your background.
Thank you. Nice.
My pleasure. Happy to be here.
It looks great.
By the way, I had 2 of your 3 trivioids in my list too.
No way. Okay, guys, so stay tuned for the end of this segment. Or you guys, let's just do them right now. What do you guys think? Or what do you think, Cirroc?
Let's do second half. Let's start the second half. But I want to know the list that you read out on your third trivia. What are the names exactly? Because I wanted to, but I didn't have the patience to slow it up and rewind it.
By the way, I wrote all of those down from memory off just one time. No, I'm just kidding. I had to rewind it like 5 times, dude, because you went through it all in like 4. So I tried to say them as quickly as Rutherford did because
you did.
Yeah, but that's because I remember all of these guys. But in order, it's the holodeck is not just for hanging with Sherlock Holmes and Robin Hood and Sigmund Freud and Cyrano de Bergerac and Einstein and Da Vinci and Stephen Hawking and Socrates.
I think Stephen Hawking, isn't he the only person who ever played himself in Star Trek?
Correct. He is the only person in the history of all Star Trek series to have played himself in a Star Trek episode or movie. Except for the whales. Whales in a Star Trek movie themselves.
That's true, fair. Could have been Gracie. Yeah.
Still falls under the category.
Right.
No, that's interesting. You know, it's funny because when the list was being read out, the first thing I was thinking was how far apart on the timeline of humanity were those people? So, would they go back thousands of years and pick somebody?
Right.
Are all the people like within a couple of 100 years? That was one thing. And the other thing I thought was, were they going to add somebody that we haven't heard who emerged in the future whose name we don't know?
Yeah.
That would have been awesome. And no, they did not do that. It's all just people that we didn't know. Mohamed, have they seen somebody from the future?
That's what I was trying to think of somebody,
but in like next generations past when they did like holodeck things.
Like the first warp flight guy, what's his name?
Zeff from Cochrane.
Somebody like him. I don't remember
James Cromwell.
I don't think they've ever had Zeff from Cochrane in that.
See, that would have been a good reference right there to throw in on that list, I think.
And I guess they could add Archer or something like that way. He could be a holodeck character, even though he's small.
Right.
I'm sure there must have been, and right now the Star Trek fans are like typing away feverishly. They're like,
it's Porthos.
I'm trying to think in the scene with Isaac Newton, was it, and Stephen Hawking playing poker with Data in Next Generation. I feel like there are a couple other people, and weren't maybe some of them were from the future.
Maybe. I'm not sure.
Anyway,
I was thinking that there wasn't a holodeck one, but an original series. Remember when they went to that planet that had Abraham Lincoln and stuff like that? And it had they had somebody there, some like future governor who committed genocide or something like that. It wasn't exactly a holodeck, but it's kind of same. It was analogous.
Okay.
Or somebody passed to them, but future to us.
Getting warmer.
Or what was the guy's name who started the Bell riots?
Right.
Oh,
Gabriel Bell.
Gabriel Bell, yeah.
That could have been another one on the list.
I think it was like Colonel Green or something like that. That's what I'm thinking. I think it was something like that. It was an original series episode.
Colonel Green.
I think he may have been referenced in Enterprise too.
This is the one we're definitely going to need help from the viewers. Just let us know in the comments below. Tell us, because I know there's got to be something, and these guys know it. Anyway, all right. We could think about that forever, but let's not. It started off with the episode started off with the Enterprise D hum discussion, which I thought was really cool because you know that there are, like on YouTube and stuff, there are looping sounds of the Enterprise D, so you can actually go to sleep at night listening to the Enterprise D hum.
Oh, wow.
Or Voyager.
And that's right. And they talked about the difference between that and Voyager and Cerritos, and they all have like a different hum. And Cirroc, if you know, like when we're watching Deep Space Nine, when they're on the Defiant, you'll hear a certain hum that's not there when they're on like a planet or whatever, but it's right in the background. They always have like the Warp 4 engine hum.
I thought that was just me thinking of my lines. Wow. So no, I actually enjoyed that little skit about the hums and everybody having their own different pitch or version of a thing. And it's funny. It reminded me of when I was a kid and I used to play with my friend Damon, who I was telling you guys earlier about. Mm-hmm. And we would, play games where we would imagine different things. For example, aircraft. Say, okay, I'm flying an F-14 and you've got an Apache or something. And we'd have our own sound effects.
Nice.
Right? That would accomplish. Yeah. And my friend Damon was so anal about the sounds of things. He would say, no, that you got, and almost to the exact, just like this. No, that has 2 Rolls-Royce engines and da-da-da-da. It's turbo-cooled and this and that. And he would know that the sounds of engines, for example, a plane would go by outside and he would just run outside and know exactly what kind of plane it was. And I would say, how do you know this? Like, how do you know what kind of plane this is? He's like, I can hear the engines. You can't hear the engines. So there are people out there that actually exactly know the sounds of different planes and the sounds of different hums.
That's a future Chief O'Brien or Tom Paris based on what we know about them. Because Tom Paris had an affinity for old 20th century vehicles, if I remember correctly. That's pretty cool, man. Good ear. That's an engineer, Starfleet engineer.
Oh.
That's an engine ear. Hey,
that was a Ryan joke. I love it.
Cirroc's like, how dare you? I laugh at all your dumb crap.
Yeah, finally, I got one. It was actually a good double entendre right there.
No, you're right. That was perfect. That was a good one.
All right.
What do you give that? What grade do you give that, Mohamed?
I give that one an 8. That was great.
Yeah, solid.
Yeah,
I'll take it. Thank you.
It's got an ear for engines. Perfect.
So you mentioned a voice. The voice that we heard, it was a cameo, right? I wrote it down. I'm hoping my guess is good.
I think you would get it right. Who is it?
It had to be JG, right?
Yep. Right.
Yeah. You can't miss that.
That first line, you're like, that's JG. There's no way that's not JG.
Yeah.
So good for him there. Somebody in the lower decks group, because that was the first thing I said, I was like, is that JG? And somebody in the lower decks group, after when the episode was over, actually showed that in the credits it said JG Hertzler. So I guess I could have just looked at that. But we didn't think of that.
Well, I mean, you hear his voice. It's much of a signature as you need. Right. He's got a one-of-a-kind voice. And I actually like the character. There was an FU line in there somewhere that was kind of hilarious.
Yeah. So that was cool. That was fun. Druk Mani, I think that's the first time we've heard of those aliens.
I don't remember ever hearing them before. Yeah.
We've had other scavenger races, but that's the first Druk Mani.
Like the things that make us go people.
Yeah, the pack leads.
But
then there was also like, I can't remember what they're called, but in Voyager, there was also the people that were called junk. They were just like junk people, but they had really good technology.
Even. Wasn't it? It was actually but
they were like, had supreme technology, and we're all Malon.
Yes,
I think it's
yeah.
Malon.
They saw him a couple of times. Yeah,
How do I remember that from
that was impressive.
20 years ago? Anyway,
Wow.
so also
So what does JG's race of aliens do? They just go around collecting junk? Is that what it is, or
it's all we know so far, right?
that's all we know so far? All right.
Oh, speaking of that scene, shout out to again Mr. Don Crandall, who because he's always noticing fun things in that garbage, that group of salvage that they were fighting over. Don Crandall says he saw what looks to be the old cargo ships from the animated series.
Oh.
And it looks like he's right. I went back and I checked, and I was like, oh yeah, it looked like it was kind of a torn apart cargo ship that is specific to the animated series. It's not shown up in any other series until now. So that was really good eye on his part, and big kudos to the people that make this show, like Mike McMahon and them, because they have some very quick and tiny details that it's hard to catch, like this little guy. I love that dude. Anyway, so that was a quick little piece of information there. Ensign Barnes got more lines. She's the Helms person that we like. Trill,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think of Shax?
He's hilarious.
That's the Bajoran security officer.
Yeah, I think he's hilarious. His last name is O'Neill. But I also like the little cat.
You guys don't even need me anymore. Mohammed's got the trivioids. Cirroc's got the puns. We're all set. My job here is done. I'm going to sip my beverage and just relax.
Yeah, you're rubbing off on me, Ryan. It's killing me. I can't stop it.
You can't fight it.
I can't fight it.
Jackson's great though because he's so extreme. Like this constant, like let's blow them up, let's eject the warp core, let's do.
Yeah,
it's very funny.
I've been very good all week.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That was so a great line.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it was the first episode or second episode. It made it clear that he was like, I suggest we, blow up the entire warp core or something like that. And she's like, what? No. But that's great. That's obviously a parody. That's hilarious. I think it's the biggest parody on Worf, because Worf on The Next Generation was always like, Captain, we must destroy them. And you'd be like, no. It was always, there's like even a compilation video of times that, Worf was rejected. And there's like 50 times where Worf says, recommend we blah, blah, blah. And they'd be like, no, Worf. No, I don't think so. Or he just always wants to blow stuff up, always wants to attack, always comes up with some idea that sucks. Poor guy. So I think Shax is a play on that.
Yeah.
You're probably about to get to this. I love the Starbase 80 references.
Tell me what that is. I didn't recognize that reference.
Well, I don't recognize it from anything. I just thought it was really funny. It's like this apparently like the worst assignment in Starfleet, I guess. They get stuck on Starbase 80.
I wrote that down too. I thought you would give me some more explanation, but I did like the reference. Like, yeah, we'll send you to Starbase 80.
Then everybody gasps. Starbase 80.
Yeah. But they did mention also DS3, which I was going to ask you guys about too.
No,
that's just nothing we know about, but the Zebulon sisters from DS3, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Also, one last thing about Starbase 80. The one thing I do know is that they have a lot of them that are designated. So they add like Starbase 80A and Starbase 80B and all that. And then there's the one that's like super scatterbrained. It's Starbase ADD. And sorry, I'm just trying to keep up.
Oh, gosh. Oh, man. You set me up with that when I was actually listening.
That's what you get.
Oh, man.
Anyway.
But no, they mentioned DS3 and the Zebulon, the sisters. Was it the sisters? Yeah.
Yeah. There's a town here in North Carolina called Zebulon. It's near us.
Way.
Oh, yeah. No, it's true. Zebulon, North Carolina. It's near here.
Well, Zebulon is a biblical name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Zebulon comes from one of the 12 tribes of Israel is Zebulon, if I'm not mistaken.
Damn,
cool.
Sounds really cool. I hope they were like a mighty warrior race.
I imagine so, but that's where the name comes from. And actually, my good friend's husband named Zebulon. That's why I know a little bit about it. Yeah. So when I saw the name, I was like, oh, wow, okay. Shout out to Zebulon.
So 24 hours ago, I'd never heard the word Zebulon, and now I have no 4 things. There's the sisters, there's the city, there's the tribe, and there's Cirroc's buddy.
Yeah.
So, wow. I just can't.
Yeah. We're learning on this show.
Definitely.
So first person who comes up with a Zebulon pun wins.
Yeah, right.
Good luck.
What's the name of that cat character? What's her name?
Oh, the doctor? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it the doctor?
To Tiana?
Something like that. I can't remember.
Yeah, how do I not remember that? It's Taana.
It's just
or
Taana?
Something like that. I know Tendi Tavana. I think it's Tavana. Let me check.
Well, apparently, Sonic Shower doesn't get cheese out of fur.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's it's Taana. It's Taana.
Taana.
Mm-hmm. Something about her is kind of weird. It just feels like a little bit out of place. I don't know. It's because she's not technically a real alien. She's just this cat person.
Well, she's probably a Cation.
Yeah.
Cations was an alien that again was only in the Star Trek original animated series of the 70s. There was a character named Emress or Mores.
But she looked more like a lion. She didn't look just like a regular cat.
Right. So is that like a different race within the Cations? Or
it's the Northerners, like the Romulans.
Or is it just a completely different alien? I don't know. But yeah, so she had the cheese dingleberries.
They got her carnitas nachos afterwards.
Yeah. Those hours. But I like the line that she had. She said, finally, somebody who respects rank. Yeah. It was kind of, it was just a little throwaway, but I just like that little line right there.
That was a good line. I agree.
Because they definitely don't. Oh, wow. Look we're already up to our first break. We've been so busy just going, remember that time? They did that thing. That was awesome. that was awesome.
That was awesome.
But I got a joke. Hang on. But
well, hopefully in the second half we won't bring up dingleberries again.
Oh, maybe just once, right?
Well, you can, I guess. You have.
All right, so we'll start the next segment with Mohamed's Trivioids. We'll see how many he got. You said he got 2 out of 3. That's pretty solid.
Yeah.
We'll be
I had 7,
back.
so it wasn't quite fair.
Okay. We'll be right back on the 7th rule. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 7th rule with Cirroc Lofton. We're also joined by Dr. Mohamed Noor, who, by the way, is a science consultant for Star Trek. Is that right?
Yep. Occasionally, I'm not formally on it. I just do, I do it on contract sometimes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun.
Because you're also the Dean of Natural Sciences at Duke University.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good memory.
Yep.
You say good memory, but for a second there I blanked. I was like, what is that university in North Carolina again? College basketball.
You're also the host of a show, if I'm not mistaken, right? What's the name of that show?
I have a YouTube series, BioTrekkie Explains.
Right.
BioTrekkie Explains, yeah.
We will include that link in the description box of the video, so everybody check it out. It's a lot of fun. He teaches people all about the connections of like Star Trek biology and real life biology and theories as to how and if it could work, right?
Yep, that's exactly it. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
So, should I do my trivioids?
Yeah, definitely.
I want to hear them.
So I had 2 of yours already. I had the one with Badgie and the holodeck one. So the other ones I had were blaming Q is the latest not me. Trash doesn't belong in the warp core. Tendi got a B at the Academy for not spacewalking, and Starbase 80 is one of the worst assignments in Starfleet.
Right. Starbase ADD. Those are good. Those are solid. Did I have any of those? No. I also I didn't say much. I just said like, everyone wants to be tutored by Badgie, but then I kind of adjusted it to be the different, because I was like, oh, he seems so sweet, but then he was less sweet. So I kind of changed that up.
Mine was said Microsoft's Clippy returns almost 400 years later as Badgie.
Yeah. And how funny was it that he was loading forever? That was that was solid. That was good.
That was a great reference.
That was hilarious.
So back to the show. Personally, I thought, again, I feel like I've said this like 3 weeks in a row. I feel like this might have been the best episode so far. For me personally, because everything moved well. It had cool references. It had funny moments. Nothing seemed too scattered. Oh, also, I also felt like this was the first time that I felt a hint of Rick and Morty in the episode. Badgie was very much felt like Rick and Morty to me. It was very Rick and Morty, that character of like, where they would look at my new creation, and then it turns evil and tries to kill him. And then, that's very Rick and Morty. And also that isolinear core thing, whatever it was that turned into a monster, also felt like Rick and Morty. They were both like kind of creations or something. Anyway, those two things made it feel very Rick and Morty to me. So that's the first time we got a little bit of that. That made me happy.
Yeah. I felt like we actually got two legit storylines with the A storyline and the B storyline.
Right.
Which one was which in this case? I was trying to figure out like which one was heavier there. I'm not positive.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, that's a good one to think about, because the image behind Ryan, I would say, it was the B storyline.
Right.
But, it could have very well also have been the A. I mean, it depends on how you look at it. They really haven't developed Rutherford and Tindy as much as we'd like to see, and they're starting to do that, which is why I enjoyed this episode. I also like seeing the Delta shift.
Yeah. Finally, we see them.
Yeah, I like seeing their alter egos basically, and it was funny to see the heads-up matchup between the two. So I think we got a lot. We got the upper deck personnel with the bridge and everybody. So that action with the Drukmani, that was enough to give me a little bit of checking off a box of what's happening there. Then they checked off the box with what's happening with Mariner and Boimler.
Mm-hmm.
And then this other character Fletcher, which they introduced. Well, I actually liked Fletcher because he's also a reject, but he's like more reject than they are. So it's like, it gives them a bar to look at and say, okay, let's not get that low. So I like that about him. And so with the development of all these characters, I think it expands the show. It makes it start to really have a nice pace to it.
Yeah.
And that's why I think this was one of the best episodes, if not the best episode so far.
I really liked how the two plot lines came together like very solidly at the end. It wasn't just that they overlapped, but like essentially the resolution of one resolved the other too. That was kind of neat.
Which was why, to answer your question, I think that this is the B plot, Rutherford and Tendi and Badgeroo, not just, Honey Badgie don't play. Not just because that they are not just because they are generally the B plot team. Obviously, Mariner and Boimler are always in the main. They're the main two, but I think the reason their storyline was the main one is because it was two pronged. Is because there was them and the isolinear thing and Fletch lives and all that kind of stuff. And then there was also, the battle with the scavenger and whatever, and then they do converge. And so I feel like that was kind of like, plot 1A and plot 1B. And then this was plot number 2 or whatever, however you want to word it. But
that's fair.
I mean, that's what I think. Also, very quickly, something I forgot to mention was that not only did we hear about Voyager and the Enterprise D, but they mentioned the Titan being transferred to the Titan. Fletch lives transferred over there. Now, the Titan, as many people know, is theoretically in the books, is what is the big, giant, powerful ship that Commander Riker captains once he moves up to be a captain. He's the captain. He takes Deanna Troi with him. I believe Tuvok is also there as like not the security chief, but something very similar to that, because they have like a trill, an unjoined trill as a security chief. Tactical, I think he's tactical, or vice versa. But anyway,
is this in the books? You're talking about in the books?
Right. These are books that take place like after Next Generation ends. There's the USS Titan book series.
After Voyager gets home too, I assume.
Right. It's right then. Yeah. So that's, Captain Riker and his antics, his adventures. Okay. So that's where Fletch Lives goes and then gets fired.
I had a quick question. Mohamed, I think you gave us a reference about Badgie and where he came from, or the idea came from.
Yep. Yeah, so it's Microsoft in Word and Excel and all those things a long time ago. There used to be this thing called Clippy. It would kind of pop up in the corner of the screen and say, "Hi, I'm Clippy. Let me answer questions for you." And then you could type in questions and stuff. But he would get locked up all the time. I'm sure that was the reference to the loading thing. So this was big like 20 years ago. So it's you have to be a little bit on the older side to need the grand beard.
No, I remember that. I remember that paperclip guy, and he annoyed the hell out of me because at first you're like, "Oh, cool, he's going to help you," and then it's like,
"No, he was terrible.
He doesn't help at all."
It was terrible.
Okay, so then my Dora the Explorer reference is not what it is.
No, not from that. Dora's amazing, but no.
Scratch that out. Not Dora. Okay.
Come on, Vominos. Everybody, let's go.
Yeah, because there's like a star or something that pops in. I remember watching that with my kid.
Oh yeah, same with me and mine.
Yeah, but the other question I have is they had a little scene in there when he was fighting Badgie, and it seemed as though his spacesuit got bitten, right? And there was air like compressing out of it or something. Wouldn't that like be the end of him? Or
well, maybe that's why he transferred the program over to the Bajoran marketplace, was then he could breathe the air.
Okay.
Because I don't remember that parts, but I'm assuming you mean it was when they were up in space right here, and so maybe that's
right
why
here.
he did.
Yeah.
So
it's only happening in the program. Is basically it's not happening in actuality. Okay.
Amazing, amazing. The safety protocols are disabled on the holodeck. That never happens in Star Trek.
Right. No, I liked the whole concept.
Funny.
I thought it was hilarious.
It was very funny.
Yeah. The downloading thing where he freezes up, that was great. Him getting tired running up the steps was hilarious to me.
The dad references.
Yes, the dad references. He kind of breaks his neck or whatever you want to call it.
Oh yeah.
Right, yeah, he twisted and then he drops it and he's just like all twisted like a little I don't know, I'm trying to think of a candy, like one of those curly, never mind, I'm gonna edit that out. What are those things? There's like the twist. There's like a twist. Maybe at like Taco Bell, they had like twist crisp things.
Oh yeah.
Curly fries?
Not really, but we'll go.
They're hard and sweet.
Yeah, like it's like a little
cinnamon twist or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
Anyway,
that was the one criticism I saw on Twitter about this episode. Some people thought there was a little bit too much, like fairly graphic violence, which there was a fair bit there, especially there with Badgie.
Right. I mean, it didn't
bother me, but I can understand how it might bother some people. It's fair. Yeah.
I feel like, look, if they're going to see, Starfleet officers stripped down to their underwear, and one Starfleet officer pants another one, and another guy be completely naked except for, a black block in front of his boudoir, and then we're going to have an alien say, cussing at people, then I think a little bit of blood here and there is right up at those levels. Like, I feel like that's the same level of mature audience that's needed. What is this? Is this like PG-13 or what is that?
That's a good question. I don't remember.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I thought it was a little bit graphic too. I mean, it didn't bother me, but I took note of it. It's just something that you notice because he's ripping heads off when he's in Bajor and talking about drinking blood and wearing skin and all that other stuff. So it's kind of excessive a little bit. Mm-hmm. I still got the message, but I also thought it was hilarious. So it was kind of I was conflicted.
Yeah, no, same. I mean, I can see why some people wouldn't like it, but I
can see if you're watching it with, if I'm watching it with my daughter, yeah, I'd probably be like, thinking in my head, is this the right thing to do?
Do you put that at the same level as like the opening scene of the first episode when Mariner's drunk and she just stabs her buddy in the leg and it squirts out blood and stuff? I feel like it's right at that. I don't know. For me, like I didn't even notice the violence, honestly. Like I just saw it pass through and it didn't even really register too much to me. I was just like, okay, he's destroying stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have kids and you guys have kids, and maybe that puts you at a level where you're automatically deciding, is this okay for my kid who's 6 or 9 or 14 or whatever?
Well, when you have somebody decapitated, I think is
yeah. There's a line there.
That's the line,
and it's right here.
That's where the line is. There was a moment in this episode that I like too. Is it's when you see Boimler and Mariner kind of like realizing that they're friends, and
I like that.
And it was a soft kind of moment, but she says something to the effect of, "You're not so annoying, like." You know what I mean? Sometimes you can
not annoying, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you can be non-annoying. And he responded in the same way. And I thought that was a kind of little nice moment between the two. It wasn't a romantic thing. It wasn't anything, but it was just like, hey, we can get along. We kind of like each other. We're friends. And they kind of solidified their friendship as opposed to being opposed to each other all the time.
What do you think is going to happen with Tendi and Rutherford? Because, I mean, it definitely seemed like it was heading towards more than friendship.
I mean,
I was trying to impress you,
They're definitely going to be. Yeah. They've been working on that since episode 1.
Yeah.
I still think that Mariner and Boimler Plate are going to end up hooking up.
It's possible.
Whether it's like a long-term relationship, like how Tendi and Rutherford probably will be, I don't think so. Because
it'd be more like Yar and Data.
Yeah, Mariner's gonna be like, "What? Oh, it didn't mean anything, dude. I'm checking out Ransom too. Don't and this this Klingon guy and that Breen over there. I'm cool.
Breen over there.
She might say, "Oh, what? I was a bet. Somebody bet me to do that. I didn't want to do this for real. I don't want to hurt your feelings. Something it could switch, but." With the two of them, in this particular episode with Rutherford and Tendi, you can see him explaining to Badgie why he did all this. He's like, I only did this because look how beautiful she is. So he's clearly
right.
He's clearly has a long-term plan of wooing her. So that's what I gathered at least.
Oh, one other line.
Which,
go ahead. No,
go ahead.
One other line that I thought was really cool is this was from the Drukmani where they said, "We're not fighting you," and they said, "Avoiding damage is fighting." Like, what?
Yeah, that was a good line.
How is that fighting?
Yeah. I thought that was hilarious. It's like if you try to dodge a punch, you are punching.
Well, because that's true. Like if you're letting the damage hit you, then you're not fighting. You're just receiving an ass whooping, right? But if you're dodging, then you're part of the action now. You are pushing back on the will of the person trying to harm you.
Yeah.
That's a stretch. It's a little bit stretch, but I wrote the same line down, Mohammed. I thought it was hilarious. Avoiding fighting is fighting. That was hilarious. And the other thing that I thought was funny was at the end when Badgie was dying, he said, "Diplomatic immunity."
Yes. Yeah. I had that one too. That's hilarious.
It was just out of nowhere, and it was hilarious to me. I just thought that was good. A good way to go out. A nice ending for a death scene,
Totally.
But then he was revived immediately.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And then he said, "I'm always here." So apparently it's not going to be just like a reset and then he's always fine. There's always that little thing. I did want to say that in the Lower Decks group on Facebook, you guys were talking about how beautiful Tendi Roni is, and people are already talking about how they're crushing on Mariner and Tendi. Pretty soon we're gonna start seeing wars where they're like, Mariner's my girlfriend, no, Tendi is the girlfriend, and then some people are gonna be like, no, Ensign Barnes,
the captain.
Shaq's.
Shaq's.
Oh.
No, I don't know where that's gonna go. Like I don't know about which person people favor the most, or which relationship's going to be the more triumphant one. That's really kind of irrelevant for me as far as the storytelling and the pace that they're setting. I think this Star Trek franchise is starting off the quickest and the best. I think they have the best start out of all the shows, period. They have found the niche right away, hit the ground running right away, and I think I can easily foresee this show lasting well beyond even after these other shows cancel, because it just seems to be that good. And if they can continue the writing, I feel like this show can potentially be on for 20 years.
That's a great point. The only other one that started off kind of hitting the ground running within the first 5 episodes, I would say might be the original series. I feel like it didn't really get, too enormously, monumentally better, in episode 20 or season 2. It was pretty much kind of what it was throughout. But, but I do agree with you that this is the highest quality of the first 5 or 6 episodes of any of the series. Picard had hit the ground running too.
Yeah, the first episode of Picard was excellent. The next 3 were a little. They were okay, but there was a little bit of we're a building story.
Right. But that's especially considering that these are like 25-minute episodes.
Yeah.
So this is the equivalent of having watched 3 episodes of all the other series.
Yeah.
So they're obviously taking advantage of that, but they also have to pack in a lot more material. So even though it's half as long, it's still like twice as much stuff being thrown in there, because you got all the references, you got all the adventures that they go on, and the actual real life Star Trek shows that have the disadvantage of having to film it, right? So they can't move it at such a speed. They have to, move at the speed of whatever production is. So that's why this particular show has a huge advantage, and is really taking advantage of their advantage by coming out and hitting the ground running, in my opinion. I think this is one of the better shows. I actually look forward to watching it, and the 20 minutes fly by pretty quickly.
Yeah, really fast. I completely agree.
Yeah.
Somebody also... Do you remember that shot from a couple weeks ago where it had Tendi and Mariner were doing their little rock band routine? They kind of pushed out Boilerplate out with his violin shenanigans.
When the Klingons got mad.
Somebody did a thing in like a Star Trek group saying name this band, and somebody had like a big old meme that was like around them, and it said Morn instead of corn, but it had like the R backwards, and it was in the same writing. It was like, I don't know. I thought it was pretty smart and funny.
Very funny.
No idea why I thought of that just now, but shout out to whoever made that. That was pretty good.
It's a pretty good thing. Yeah.
They could tie it in with Deep Space Nine and say he was their lead singer but quit.
They silenced him.
I actually had a couple NAMs too in this one.
Okay.
One were the Nausicaans that were also mentioned.
Right.
I know you guys picked up on that one.
Yep.
And then also, of course, Q was also mentioned.
I was expecting him to show up because they mentioned him so many times, and we just had that announcement on Tuesday about how John Delancey's going to be in there. I was waiting for him to show up, but no.
And the Nausicaans were from that episode with my Picard, my green Picard guy in Tapestry. That was the one we were talking about. He's like, "Play dumb jut, human." I swear that Cirroc, one of these days, if you see that episode, you'll be like, "Yeah, that's a pretty good impression." It's pretty solid. But yeah, Noskins was a good one. These days. And Q, but he didn't show up. They kind of teased him before, but no, he didn't show up.
Yeah, there were a couple of other lines that they were throw in, but this is how they have their comedy. This is a comedy, so this is the only time we get to analyze something from a comedic perspective, really. And the one line was to Boimler, I think it was. It's like, hey, when the Delta shift was talking to the lower deck group, and they were saying, which one of you guys doesn't wipe down the
the console?
Remember that?
Yeah.
The console? Yeah. Which one of you guys wipe down the console after you're finished? and Boimler kind of put his head down. That was a little joke right there that I thought was hilarious. It's just, just one of those things. And then the other one was when Mariner was getting tough with the Delta crew, Delta shift, and the response from the Delta was, "Oh, what is this? Some kind of version of a beta badass?" And I like that line as well. So those are a couple of little things
that was.
jumped
I
out.
don't know if that was deliberate, but it sounded like a double entendre to me. Oh, a beta badass, because nowadays, beta is like a personality type. There's the alphas and the betas, so it's like a beta badass, which sounds like not much of a badass.
Yeah, I see what you mean, but I think they were referring to they look at them as their own, like, the antithesis of themselves. So I thought that was pretty great.
Delta ship. Shouldn't you guys be in bed by now or something? Shouldn't you guys be sleeping?
And then it's funny because when he said computer, log on to the Bajoran marketplace, I could have sworn that they were going to show us the exact same marketplace that Ryan, you always criticize seeing in the village, and they kind of did almost, I was like, oh, here we go. Even in the animated version.
Yeah. But see, the whole thing is the reason they always use that same marketplace in every Next Generation and every Voyager and every Deep Space Nine episode is budget. But when you're doing something animated, you do whatever you want. Having them walk through a marketplace costs the same as having them walk through a mountain or a temple or whatever. But yeah, the 90s Trek, it was always like they walk into a courtyard. The entire town just happens to be up and walking around. There's usually a couple ladies holding baskets with fruits, right? There's some kids playing hacky sack in the corner over here. There's two people playing chess over here. There's the leader of the village or the town or the president of the world happens to walk up to them and say, "Welcome, to my planet. And I'm so happy you dropped by." Yeah, we're all just hanging out here. So yeah, that would have been.
Did you watch the 70s Battlestar Galactica? Not the reboot, but the original one?
No.
No, the fight scenes in that were like the same, like 5 images in every episode. They would have the same bit of video, like with the shooting and 3 Cylon ships and the one in the middle being destroyed and the 2 others flying off. It was like the same 5 little clips they'd show in every episode every time there was a fight scene.
No way. So like in the space battles, you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay, I thought you meant like actual punching and kicking. It just
no. This is a space scene. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, that was with Richard Hatch.
Exactly. Dirk Benedict and Lauren Green as the captain.
That's all I know.
Was there anything that I'm missing with the Choo Choo reference or the Choo 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 reference? There was nothing.
I didn't know where that came from.
I was just wondering. Yeah.
The only choo-choo thing I remember from any shows ever was Three's Company related. And I don't think they were making a reference to Three's Company.
No, that was not Ristus, no.
Probably not. They probably weren't like, let's put in a Three's Company reference right here.
Yeah, I just doubt it. Doubt it.
Speaking of which, somebody that was mentioned in this review was in Three's Company, and that was James Cromwell, who played Zephram Cochrane. He played a police officer in an episode of Three's Company. So for everybody that was dying to know that piece of trivia.
I think whoever was dying to know that is already dead.
I just love James. Whoops. I just like James Cromwell because he's a fellow animal rights guy like myself. So I've met him a few times. He's a super nice guy. Shout out to him. Super fun guy. He's always happy, always present, very energetic. Yeah, awesome dude. Anyway.
No, there was another line here that I wanted to just highlight, and that was Mariner saying that she only breaks dumb rules, and I like that too.
It was good.
That's like it's a motto to live by, just in case, that's my rule. I only break dumb.
I don't put anybody in danger. Well, except Boimler.
Yeah, she goes, I never put anybody in danger. And he's like, well, Boimler, but come on.
Who's worried about him?
He's still here.
He's still here, right?
I did think about you during the Badgie versus Rutherford battle scene. Why didn't Rutherford put on his Borg skills? Hit his little thing, turn on his cyborg skills, and just beat up Badgie. Teach him a lesson. Like only a daddy can do that kind of ass whooping. He could have done that to Badgie.
they're just really missing out on this one particular. They gave the guy, something that is a superpower. They gave him something that defines his character, which is that cyborg eye, and he totally doesn't use it enough. It's not referenced anymore. It was heavily referenced in the first episode, and he was going through the glitches, which I actually liked, and I think they could have kept the glitches going, but it just seems like, they gave it to him and then they just went away from it, and now he's just like a regular human character, and it's just not really taking advantage of what they already wrote for him.
Yeah, it's interesting with the Fletcher plot. That's basically like Fletcher was trying to do that. Like, why didn't you just get one of the things like what Rutherford has instead of trying to do that with the big thing he was carrying?
Right.
So with Fletcher was trying to, remember he was trying to get that so he could increase his brain capacity or something.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, he could easily get an implant and have his own. Yeah, he could have a brain capacity increase if he wanted. But the Fletcher part, I understand. Of them doing that sideline, but I really think that Rutherford needs to.
Yeah, agreed.
Have this is some. The Terminator, for example. You used his cyborg eyes to evaluate rooms, see who was calm, temperature, all this, and there's so many different ways to make a play on that. Where.
Maybe he can have X-ray vision in that one eye.
Oh, yeah. Or like Jordy vision. Oh, there was somebody with a visor like Jordy. So it was just like for 1 second. Do you see that?
And there was a teddy bear with a Jordy teddy bear with a visor like last week or the week before.
Yeah.
That was cool. I don't remember. It's last week or the week before. Yeah. Where somebody was holding a teddy bear and it had it was like a Jordy teddy bear basically.
Wow.
That was a fun one. Also, quick correction. This is going to be like a running joke, but not a deliberate one. But I think this is twice now that I was referencing something that happened in a previous two-parter episode of Next Generation. I was like, oh yeah, it was like a two-parter, like Best of Both Worlds or something. Yeah. And then one time it was like Chain of Command that it really was. And then the other time it was like Descent that it really was. I'm like, I can't just, because when I'm talking to Cirroc, I know that I can be like, oh, it's like Best of Both Worlds or whatever. And Cirroc can be like, okay, cool. But I forget that, like, I got to get it right, dude, because everybody that's watching this, because then as soon as I
is on it,
as soon as I say it or I rewatch it, and I'm like, oh, did I say that? No, that's not it. It's Descent, and I'm like, oh boy, here we go. They're all gonna let me know now. And I look at the comments, and it's like 4 different people all saying, "You idiot! It's Descent, obviously." No, I can't go back and edit this thing. I'm sorry. But anyway, so from now on, I think we're just going to reference, Chain of Command, and that's Best of Both Worlds. And it'll never be Best of Both Worlds. It'll be something else. It'll be Gambit Parts 1 and 2 or whatever, which is an unsung two-parter, I think.
Now, this might be a dumb question, Mohamed, but I sometimes ask those. Magnetic boots on a spacewalk. Is that something that sounds like it's
Star Trek First Contact? They've used Star Trek First Contact.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I see that in a lot of sci-fi. I don't. Yeah, that's not. It's not biology, so I'm sorry. It doesn't seem crazy. I mean, the key would be just making sure there's some easy way to undo it. But I guess it would have to be an electromagnet. I'm trying to think, like, how would you make it so it turns on and off? I guess it would have to be some sort of electromagnet.
I would think
seems possible. I don't see a barrier to it.
Yeah, I mean, my first thought on how to do it would be the way the shoe bends, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, if the shoe is bent like this, kind of like
completes the circuit somehow,
right? Then it turns it off, right? And then if it comes like this, it's on. So, for example, when you're coming down and you put your foot down, magnet, right?
Yeah.
But then when you bend the arch like this, then it turns it off. And then you take another step. Something just as simple as that should theoretically be able to work. Now, I say it's simple in theory, but obviously in practice, somebody has to build something that works that way. But it seems very doable, right?
It seems doable. I mean, they do it in The Expanse, though. Again, that's still fiction.
Well, then there's your proof.
That's a fun one. Really good thought into that. I like the insight on the bend and the engineering behind that. That was pretty... Yeah.
It seems like if it's electromagnet, I don't see a reason why that shouldn't be possible. I mean, it should be something fairly straightforward where, you're just completing a circuit or cutting the circuit. Seems doable.
Right. Seems
I'm sure
doable.
there are a lot of ways. I'm sure Jordy could do it.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, I think it's not bad. I think we could do it.
Now, were they dissing the clamshell communicators in this one? I heard a diss somewhere in there.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
It was like
wreckage.
It was like a nostalgic diss, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Like those flip phones from 20 years ago.
Oh, those flip phones.
Kind of like the phasers from the first 2 seasons of Next Generation, were like these little Tic Tacs.
The Dustbuster.
They were like tiny little Tic Tacs, and they're like this, and they're like, this does not look cool or ominous or tough. We got to make it look like a laser beam or something. Make it look cool. It doesn't matter if it's futuristic. Because before, it was like this. It was a garage door opener. You know, it was like
that one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anyway,
I think they called them Phaser 1 and Phaser 2 in the original series.
Type 1 or Type 2.
The gun ones were like the Phaser 2, whereas the little ones that look like almost like a flip phone were the Phaser ones.
I'm talking about Next Generation. First.
Sorry, I was thinking about the original series.
They were so tiny. They were like that big, and it was just like, anyway, we're getting off track here. We're just about out of time here. Overall, I thought this was a great episode. I was very happy with it. There were good jokes. There were good references. Had J.G. Hertzler doing a cool alien voice that made me smile.
Me too.
Solid reviews all the way around, I think, for this one.
Now, are these? Are we able to see a rating on these, or is that something that happens later on down the road?
We do, but I mean, it just. Episode's not even 24 hours old, so what you would have is people guessing. What you have is people that don't want it to be good to give it a 1, and people that do want it to be good give it a 10. So you've got an average of a 5 when nobody's actually seen it yet. So you want to give it a couple months to marinate, I think, before you look at those. Whereas, like when we're looking at the Deep Space Nine ratings, it's a 25-year-old episode. So it's had all the time in the world for people to go back and look at it and see what they think, which is why Cirroc, as you know, like the episode we did recently where the episode was rated much higher than we thought it should be, but that's because people knew that it was the first part of a good 2-parter. So when they look back at it 20 years later, they're like, oh yeah, that's really good. But the episode by itself wasn't as great. But anyway.
Right.
That's the story with IMDb ratings. I can tell you what the IMDb rating is so far off of only 25 total ratings. It's a 7.3.
Okay. Question for you guys. Do you think we'll be seeing Badgie again?
I doubt it.
Yeah, I don't think so. Definitely not this first season. Yeah. I think that... I think that he did like the I'm always here, I'm always sad or something. It was like kind of meant as a maybe we'll see him again, but probably not, at least not in this season, I would think.
I agree.
Okay. Just a question.
No.
It's a good one, though.
Yes. And you told it well.
Also, really quickly, I did like Mariner's mom, the captain on this show. I liked her performance in this episode, trying to be the responsible captain, holding on to diplomacy and whatnot. I like the approach.
Right.
Keeping Shaq at bay.
I mean,
yeah.
She's probably the only real officer. Her and maybe Tendi, to me, are the only two that actually act somewhere within the stratosphere of real officers as we know them. Everybody else are more like extreme caricatures of, but that's what you get in comedy. That's what you get in animation. And that's especially what you get in animated comedies. Everybody else is an extreme version of something or a caricature of somebody, whereas the captain is basically a captain. I mean, she's got some funny things to her, and Tendi is basically a regular ensign that just gets a little overly excited about things. But those are the only two that seem like real people to me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, they have certain moments where they fly off the hinge, but for the most part, they have their characteristics are pretty stable and
right.
Accurate.
Mm-hmm. All right, it's time to move on. It's time to say great job to Lower Decks for another great episode. I'm really enjoying these.
Yeah.
And special shout out to Levi Tinker, by the way. He's the general manager of the TCL Man's Chinese Theaters out in Hollywood. We know him. We love him well. He hooked us up with a place, hooked Melissa up with a place to have Aaron Eisenberg's funeral last year, which was really good of him. That's also where we viewed the Deep Space Nine documentary last year. He's been a great guy, great member of our team, of our community, and he's been very active with the Lower Decks conversations. That's what made me kind of want to give him the shout out. Is, you know, on the nights where we're watching it, he's commenting. He was the first guy when I said, was that JG Hertzler? He was the first guy to comment, yeah, it's got to be him, you know. So he's been really on it lately, and so he deserves more shout outs. Thanks, Levi.
Absolutely. And Levi, thank you very much. And everything that you also did for Aaron Eisenberg and for Melissa as well. We really appreciate you.
It's been awesome. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. We'll see you next week. Please don't forget to give this a like and give us your comments in the comment section below. Tell us what the episode really was when I said best of both worlds for the 10th time. And please subscribe. And always remember the 7th rule.